I've had a lot of boring class lectures. I'd say most of my classes are pretty boring.
I feel that the majority of my lectures are boring and the inspiring lectures are in the minority.
If I have to sit through a lecture where there's a PowerPoint and the professor stands in front of the class, reads word for word off the slide, I'd fall asleep. That's not learning.
It broke off into the first wave broke off into camps.
You got a gun, Letty? Or will you use mine?
Kevin Govert, Assistant Professor of Meteorology at Valparaiso University.
3, 2, 1.
My name is Peter Venturelli. I'm in the Sociology Department at Valparaiso University, and I've been here a long time.
It depends on the classes. There's a wide variety between introductory classes in the younger grades versus the lecture classes that I do for senior meteorology majors. So for introductory classes, it's a lot more your typical lecture style, PowerPoint presentations, that sort of thing. For upper level meteorology classes, since we're studying the atmosphere, it's largely interactive, and so a lot of times it's putting weather maps up on the screen, and then it's complete interaction, students with students, students with faculty.
I guess there's, depending on the course, like I said, there's a lot of variables. I mean, if it's intro, pretty much lectures.
Oh, that's a tough question. The interaction with the students is different depending on how big the class is. So when you have a class of 10 students, it presents a different atmosphere where even though I'm lecturing, I like to ask a lot of questions when I lecture, and there's a lot more interaction, and it feels almost more like a discussion rather than a strict lecture. But when you've got 60 students in a class, it seems that, at least for me, the lecturing, more of a classic style, works.
The most effective is, if you can get students going on it, is to have the dialogue back and forth. Mm-hmm. That is the best. I mean, in a seminar class, you really should strive for that.
I think when I ask questions and that it's interactive to some extent is when I get the best feeling from the students in terms of what they're receiving, because then it's not just me up there speaking and hoping that there's information transfer, that there's dialogue of I ask a question and then they may respond, it may be right or wrong, but then that can start a dialogue between not only me and that student asking the question, but then usually many more students have similar or the same questions. And so that interaction of going back and forth, I feel, is very effective.
Students respond mostly to the discussions. Mm-hmm. But again, getting it going, most of the times it'll work, but there are certain times when you don't get much response. At least in the beginning. Then you get people involved. So.
In the sciences, we're a little different, and we don't have a lot of discussion where there's a lot of interpretation of texts or things like that. We're trying to transfer this knowledge of how does the atmosphere work and stuff like that, and it's not open up to interpretation like if you're reading a Shakespearean play or something like that, where you can really get into some deeper meanings and understandings just from personal experience. Mm-hmm. But as you progress in meteorology and the later stuff, when we're talking physically about the atmosphere and what's going on right now, that is all discussion.
Sociology lends itself to discussion and debate. Quite a bit. I don't think you would have discussion, debate in the calculus course.
Oh, technology is very essential for meteorology. Now, it used to be back in the day, we used to have to do everything just with these paper maps that get printed off, and then you'd either make copies or everyone would be huddled around one single paper. But now with the internet and the availability of weather data across the internet, it's great to use technology to be able to better integrate many different ideas about the atmosphere as opposed to a single black and white map.
It's more convenient.
learning is more than the professor reading notes. I mean, if that's all they were doing, then why don't we just print it out?
I had one professor that read word for word through his PowerPoints. And I mean, that's just not the point of a PowerPoint. It's just, you know, it's just so a different way of using technology. I don't think a lot of professors use it well too much a lot of the time, unfortunately.
And I am sick and tired of hearing my professors going off on tangents about their life story. Believe me, that's the key time when we like to tune out.
I realized that the only way that you actually learn in college is by being hands-on.
The classes that I had that were interactive, I definitely did a lot better.
You know, teenagers and at least college-age students' attention spans are a lot shorter these days. So when you expect a student to sit through a 90-minute lecture, you're losing their attention.
My name is Spencer Roach. I am a senior actuarial science and math major. I think it really depends on the type of class. I'm currently in Christ College, so most of those classes are more discussion based, where the professor will ask a few questions and then the discussion will go from there. But in a lot of my math classes, they're a lot more lecture based. I think specifically for math classes, I think that they do a fairly good job just because math classes I feel are a little different than other types of lecture classes. I think that due to having to take a lot of notes and paying close attention to the material in order to understand it, that the sort of lecture style is necessary. In some of my non-math classes, whenever it's more of a lecture style, it does tend to get on the boring side, and then you're not really engaged with the material and not really learning what you should be getting out of the lectures. I would say it's more student apathy more than anything, because I do see a lot of other students, you know, messing with their phones, and like if they're allowed to bring laptops to class, then they'll bring their laptops and, you know, do the whole Facebook thing and checking email and stuff like that.
I know they're different. Characterizing them, how different are they? Again, I need a week to think about that. The difference. I've tried using old lecture notes, and it doesn't work. So obviously times have changed, right? That's one indication. Students today are looking for relevancy in what they're learning. They don't want something, you know, back, it should work this way, should work that way. They want some evidence of it.
I don't know if I would characterize it as dying, but I could see a shift away toward discussion-based ideas and like more online classes.
There's a feeling it is dying. Mm-hmm. I feel it. It's not dead, but it's got to be mixed in with other things. You can't do it in the conventional fashion it was done 20, 30 years ago. People like to insert their thoughts, their opinions. They have particular views. There's also, people are looking for more individualized kind of learning experiences, I think.